What's up, guys? I am Mike Muhammad, and I'm coming to you a little bit sick, but I wanted to make a video discussing the new Zelda game, which is one of the most awaited video games of all time right now. Breath of the Wild, one of the most acclaimed and beloved adventure games ever made, a game that's kind of made a permanent impact on open world gaming. And its sequel, announced in 2019. We are still waiting for it, apparently, to come out in May 2023. But I just wanted to talk about this game because, really, I've always felt the Zelda series was pretty overrated until Breath of the Wild. That was the first game where I would say that Zelda really kind of stepped it up as a franchise and kind of became more than it used to be. It was always a game franchise that kind of like engineered new techniques in gaming. But with Breath of the Wild, it really felt like the first time the series really evolved into something better than it was for a long time. For a long time, I felt the series was really like kind of childish, very easy games. They weren't that challenging, and the storylines were not particularly the greatest. But with Breath of the Wild, they really stepped things up to a new degree, man. And this Tears of the Kingdom game, I really believe, is probably going to end up being the end of the timeline of the current Zelda universe, kind of, as we know it. If you know that timeline, I think is outlined in Hyrule Historia, where it starts from Skyward Sword, it splits at a certain point. I think this Tears of the Kingdom game is going to be the end. I think a lot of people are thinking that right now. Some people have this theory about it being a cyclical timeline or something. I'm not sure about all that. But I think the idea of it being kind of the end of the current story that started with Skyward Sword, with the Curse of Demise and the reincarnating Zelda, I think this is going to be the end of that story, and I think it's most likely going to involve either Link or Princess Zelda dying. It's going to be some kind of scenario where one of them or both of them has to sacrifice themselves to finally end the Curse of Demise. This really seems like the darkest Zelda game ever. It's the most mysterious. The plot line is the most difficult to understand anything about from the trailers that we've seen. And I don't know, I just really think there's something interesting going on with this game. In terms of the storytelling, I think that it's going to maybe be the last Zelda game for a long time. When you look at what they're doing with the gameplay in this game, being able to reverse time, having the underground, the above ground, and then the regular landscape all explorable at once. This is an enormous undertaking in game design and gameplay design as well. The first game, Breath of the Wild, was already, the physics engine is like unmatched. It's kind of remarkable for a game that's on a Nintendo console. But that's really what that game achieved. And the level of scale they're going for with this new Zelda is just kind of insanity. And really, when I look at it, I think this is either going to be a massive flop or it's going to be like the greatest adventure game of all time. It's hard to tell from right now what it's going to be. But really, my thought is, after a game like this, how do they possibly top themselves? I don't know that they're able to top themselves for a while with current technology. It might reach a scenario like Metroid, where their idea for what the gameplay could be is almost beyond the means of the current technology Nintendo is using. I feel like it's not unrealistic to think that after this game comes out, we may end up waiting almost 10 years for a new Zelda game to come out. And they would probably just keep re-releasing the older Zeldas until they do. This goddess creature, I feel like is some kind of dragon, man. Only my camera would come into focus. Nintendo these days really seems to love having these mythical, godlike dragons in their games. Fire Emblem is doing that. this game, I just feel like after this game, the series' story from Skyward Sword kind of ends, and they wait for a while and kind of just recreate what the concept of Zelda is. Whether that still involves the Triforce, whether it still involves Link, Zelda, and Ganon, I think remains to be seen. But I don't know, man. There's something about this game that I really think represents a finality in the series. The Tears of the Kingdom, actually represent both the kingdom tearing itself apart and tears being shed in mourning for like Link or Zelda. And maybe the ending will be like Tears of the Nintendo Kingdom, when the whole fan base is mourning the finality of this series for the time being. It definitely feels like an event game that, like, if you're either playing this game or you're not playing it, pretty much. But yeah, man, that's just kind of my brief thoughts on this. Really cannot wait to play this game. Anyways, I'm Mike Muhammad, coming at you a little bit sick right now, but thank you for watching.